Listen, just to let you know, I'm not some crazy fanboy who believes everything he reads on the internet. And I want to say, straight up that I really do believe this is a rumor. I really do believe this is something picked out of this guy's head that is not going to come to fruition. So let me just start off. Apparently, according to the website Batman on Film, they were answering a few mailbox questions. It's a site that has pretty good information usually, but one of the guys there, his name is Jet, Jet basically wrote a reply to somebody about the nature of Wonder Woman's role in the Man of Steel 2 film, or World's Finest, or whatever. And basically this is the statement. With all that said, I bet a year's pay in Monopoly money, of course, that the Amazons of this cinematic DCU will be descendants of those ancient Kryptonians who attempted to set up Kryptonian outposts throughout spacedom thousands and thousands of years ago. Furthermore, I say that Wonder Woman will be powered down, if you will, relative to Superman, because these Amazons have evolved and adapted to living on Earth for hundreds of centuries. And since Kryptonians are produced without any Hen and Chien, Jor-El and Lara excluded, couldn't this original Kryptonian on Earth have used this reproductive science to create an all-female race? I say yes. Okay, now, as he said, he believes that this is based on, his opinion. But his opinion is informed, really, generally speaking, with the close relationship, he has with the studio, or the sources he has with the studio, about the nature of what they're trying to do with these set of films. For instance, he may have got this idea from them saying they want to go with pure realism, and they want to edge away from mythic ideas. Now, I want to know, first of all, I have no real problem with Wonder Woman not being as powerful as Superman. I think she should be very powerful, but I don't think her being less powerful than Superman is like really a big problem for me. It is a problem for some people, but I don't think that would be the worst offense. I think the worst offense, personally, is to change her origin to be some counterpart to Superman, some kind of lesser Superman. It's a ridiculous way of going about things. It's not Wonder Woman, and I would find it personally insulting as a fan of the DC universe, that our comic characters have to be diluted so that the public can understand them. It's all bullshit. This idea, like, how stupid do they think people are? I mean, tweak her origin, sure, but like, for fuck's sake, give her her own original, unique origin based upon the source material that is, at least, fucking faithful, or not faithful, but pays tribute to the source material. She deserves it. She's a character for 75 years who hasn't got a film of her own simply because she has a freaking vagina, because she's of a different sex than males. It's completely ridiculous. This arbitrary prejudice that Hollywood has towards female action leads. It's completely crazy. We've already shown it's non-existent in the Hunger Games fucking trilogy. What else do they fucking need? I mean, for God's sake, why didn't they give her a film of her own first? And that could have established her universe, and then they find a way to connect the Man of Steel universe to this other universe, rather than this retarded way of throwing every fucking superhero under the sun into the Man of Steel 2. This better not be true, and I think it is incumbent upon Warner Brothers and DC to put out a statement saying that this is not true. Since you know, I know it's a rumor. I know the guy doesn't have. I mean, he's a guy who usually gets. You know, I think this opinion, while it may not be true or based upon something he's directly heard, is probably. I mean, the guy saying he could bet his life on it is probably been acquired. You know, from what he's heard about the tone of the movie. That's my fear. And if he's heard about the tone of the movie, within this tone of the movie, it wouldn't make sense to have mythology and gods and stuff like that, then that's probably why he's saying that Wonder Woman is tied to that. And if there is no mythology and there is no gods in the Wonder Woman universe, then it's not Wonder Woman. It's not fucking Wonder Woman. What is the fucking big deal with mythology and gods? This fucking realism thing has been taken so fucking far because of the Nolan films, and the Nolan films are brilliant. Batman is noir, you know, he's detective noir, and gritty realism can fit his mythology. Other things can fit his mythology, but gritty realism fits his mythology. Superman is sci-fi. Science fiction ideas fit that kind of mythology. Wonder Woman is mythological. Her roots are mythological in Greek gods and stuff like that. If if you're saying that mythology, can't be dark and gritty, take a look at Homer's Odyssey, for God's sake. Take a look at all the Greek fucking epic poems, for God's sake. Of course it can be dark and gritty, you just have to write it dark and fucking gritty. Add psychological realism to the characters. It doesn't need to be realistic in the sense that it can fucking happen. Man of Steel is not fucking as gritty and realistic as people try and make out. In fact, it's a very, very shitty attempt at gritty realism. Look at Superman Earth 1 if you want to look for a Superman grounded in reality. Or look at a Birthright for a Superman grounded in some kind of semi-scientific reality. Okay? Superman, for all the flaws I say it has, which I think are many, and I don't think it's a very good film, it is a perfect platform to set up the Justice League and have them have their own fucking origins. With the Green Lanterns from Oa, the fucking Flash, you know, with his origin, you know, the Lightning, whatever it may be, you know, they could tweak Flash's origin, because his origin is not so essential to the fucking character as much as Wonder Woman's origin is essential to who she is. They fucked up Superman, but the least they did is they made it so fucking unrealistic and so implausible and illogical. There were fucking wormholes opened in the middle of Earth that only sucked in Kryptonian fucking ships, for God's sake. What the fuck kind of shit is that? You're talking about science realism. Are you kidding me? Oh, Wonder Woman doesn't fit into this world because it's so fucking realistic. But there are flying fucking dragons on fucking Krypton. And Krypton is some fucking society, some futuristic society, based on medieval feudal fucking society of our world. How is that realistic? How do you think in thousands of years, when human beings, if we survive that long, have evolved technologically to be masters of space fucking aviation, we're going to live like feudal warlords, for fuck's sake? And why the fuck would there be marriages in a society that forbids fucking children? How is that realistic? You have a society on Krypton that has children who are birthed specifically for a particular role, that do not come from the women, and they want to discourage people from having their own fucking children, yet they have houses of L, and they have wives, and fucking, why would you have a house of L if you have no fucking descendants? Explain to me that. How would you have a house of fucking L if you don't have any fucking descendants? Children are made in a fucking thing. All the people of Krypton should really be doing is either farming or being generals or being fucking whatever they're genetically fucking predisposed to do. They should outlaw fucking any relation between man and woman, surely, in a society like that. The whole film is fucking unrealistic. Alright, if you want to take away, maybe I'm going too far, maybe I'm nitpicking. Again, I'm talking about a wormhole fucking opening in Earth and only sucking in a Kryptonian fucking ship, with no plausible explanation for that. I'm sorry, I think there is space in that universe for fucking Amazons and fucking gods to exist. DC should put out a statement saying that this isn't fucking true. They should not make us wait. It will not give away the plot of the fucking film or the story of the film. Just put out a statement saying Wonder Woman and her origin has nothing to do with the fucking Kryptonians, and we are going to pay fucking tribute to Wonder Woman's origin. That's all we should ask. And that's, for God's sake, it could be just a fucking rumor. Could be just a fucking rumor, but it's outrageous. Why? The first female, real female superhero, not like Black Widow or, there was Supergirl before, but, the first real superhero heroine who has her own story, who isn't a counterpart to some male, is going to in her first fucking outing, possibly be just another counterpart to a male. Do you know how fucking backward and fucking regressive that is? I mean, it's fucking mind-bogglingly stupid. And I'm not angry at the moment, but I think, considering how this rumor has circulated and has, become, a kind of prevalent idea that this could be a possible take on the Wonder Woman character, I think Warner Brothers should put out a statement saying it is not fucking true, because it's outrageous. It's outrageous. There's no justification for it, given how unrealistic Man of Steel was. Man of Steel was as fantastical as Thor. I'm sorry, there was no realism to Man of Steel at all. It was illogical, it was unrealistic, the world did not follow the same laws that our universe does. It wasn't anywhere. I mean, even if you want to talk about Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, which were far more realistic and far more grounded than the Man of Steel ever was. It was so illogically done, and it could have been really based in realism, but they just fucked it up. Even if you want to take that and you want to say, okay, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, never could gods and mythology fit into that. Of course they can. Of course they can. You just have to think. Use your little fucking brain. It's got an imagination, and then you put it on screen and you get people to accept the reality by immersing them in that fucking reality. It's not that fucking hard. It's not that difficult to grasp. Just write something that kind of fits into that fucking reality. For God's sake. Jesus. I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, you could have it so the Amazons were separated from the gods thousands of years ago, with man becoming more and more impious. The gods actually die because in you know, in the original ideas that of the gods, the Greek gods, the gods fed off us worshipping them. So with us becoming more and more secular, the gods disappear, but the island of Amazons remained, and the immortal blessings that the gods gave them remained. And Wonder Woman was blessed by the gods. Ares is the one god to have survived because he survives off the psychic energies of war. Simple. Then you have that thing, that basic story structure, okay, and then you just apply it to that our universe. Steve Trevor lands on this island due to whatever reason, okay, and Ares has escaped into the world. Wonder Woman has to stop him. He's the only god that still exists, or is thought to be the only god that still exists. And Ares starts, you know, trying to fuck with our world in some villainous way. I don't know how. Okay, I have my own ideas, but like that's just a basic concept of the story. So, you know, in that world, you know, no one knows about these gods. They thought you know, these gods were just mythic, but in fact, it turns out that this island of Amazons is the only ones who know that the gods were actually real, but they died due to the fact that you know, man forgot them. It's that fucking simple. Just use your fucking imagination. I'm not even a fucking writer. I'm sure a fucking writer who went to fucking Oxford or fucking, you know, Yale or something like that would probably fucking be able to do a better job than I would. Just use your fucking brains. It's called an imagination. Why does she even have to fit into this fucking universe anyway? Why doesn't Superman and Batman have to fit into hers? For God's sake, man, Anyway, this whole thing of it being difficult to write a Wonder Woman movie is bollocks. It's been bollocks from day one. Look at the animated film. Very, very fucking simple framework. That's how you do it. Okay? It's not that fucking difficult. And I'm, you know, done. Okay? In fact, it could be that, you know, even the Amazons come from a different fucking dimension, if you want to ground it in scientific reality. And the gods separated the Amazons onto a parallel Earth, but somehow, I don't know, Ares devises a plan where the two Earths come together, and he's finally able to release himself from Paradise Island, which has weakened his powers because he's the god of war who feeds off war. Once he's in man's world, or once he merges the Earth with again into one world, okay, where the mythological things exist, but man's scientific world exists, he's able to feed off the psychic energies of war. He's released. Wonder Woman has to go after him, and all the mythological things of the Earth fucking are released onto the world. There you go. Fits into your scientific reality, gritty bullshit. But the magic that was the Batman films was not that it was gritty and based in reality, because nobody can do what fucking Batman did in those two fucking movies without dying in the first fucking hour. Okay? The beauty of them was the psychological realism of the character, that they took it seriously. What would it actually be like if there was this guy who, you know, dressed up as a bat and fought fucking crime? What would he actually be like? What would he actually be like if he saw his parents murdered in front of him when he was a child? That's all they had to do for Superman. Take the mythology seriously and say, okay, what would it actually be like if there was this guy, had these two identities, was, you know, the most powerful being in the world as far as he knew, etc., etc., etc. Wonder Woman is the same thing. What if this woman came from an island that had been hidden from the world for you know, thousands of years? They were all immortals, and she had superpowers. What would it be like for her to come into you know, a world that is, you know, primarily ruled by men? And what would she think of that world? and she decides to be a hero as well after fighting Ares, the god of war. You take that story and make the character multi-dimensional. That's all you have to do. Okay, I'm sorry. Alright. So that's my piece. That's my talk on it. Thanks very much.